Whoa.
It really looks like Finesse2Tymes got completely outplayed by J. Prince Jr., and the paperwork that just leaked is raising serious eyebrows. This contract is being called one of the wildest deals people have seen in a long time, no exaggeration. Before we even unpack the details, we need to talk about how Finesse is now trying to step to the Prince family over this situation. And that move right there, it could turn into the biggest mistake of his career. Because once you see how this whole thing is structured, it starts to feel less like business and more like a setup waiting to explode. This story is not small talk. We're talking contracts, serious money, and a powerful music family with deep roots in the industry. This situation escalates fast, and every layer makes it look even heavier. Now let's rewind to September 2022. Finesse2Tymes believed he was making the smartest move of his life. He signed with Mob Ties Entertainment, the label run by J. Prince Jr., thinking he had just locked in a major opportunity. From the outside, it looked like he had secured the bag and leveled up overnight. But what if that signature marked the start of a deal that would put him in a tight corner instead of putting him on top? That's where things get uncomfortable. When I first looked over the details being shared, I was stunned. This is not your typical record deal with simple terms and clear splits. The paperwork shows an exclusive service agreement, but here's where it gets complicated. Instead of one company handling the deal, there were two separate entities positioned to take a cut of his earnings. Two companies, one artist's grind, and multiple hands in the pot. Most artists assume they're signing with one label. You sign the contract, the label takes their percentage, you keep yours, and everybody moves forward. Simple, right? But this structure looks different. Instead of a straightforward setup, it appears layered in a way where more than one company benefits directly from the same artist's work. That changes the math in a big way. And now let's get into the advance, because this is where the pressure really builds. An advance is supposed to be your upfront money, your boost while you create and grow your brand. It's meant to help you live and invest in your career. But once you see how this deal reportedly handles that money, you start asking serious questions. And trust me, this part has people talking for a reason. Now here's where it gets real heavy. Even with that advance money on the table, Finesse reportedly only keeps a small slice of the pie. The contract breakdown shows that every dollar coming in gets split three ways. 35% goes to the artist, that's Finesse. 35% goes to Mob Ties, which is J. Prince Jr.'s company. And the remaining 30%, that goes to JPE, short for James Prince Entertainment. And yes, that company is tied to J. Prince Sr., the father. Let's slow that down and do the math. If $1 million comes in, Finesse walks away with $350,000. J. Prince Jr.'s side collects $350,000, and J. Prince Sr.'s company receives $300,000. That means 65% of the total goes to companies connected to the same family. That's a serious split. From the outside looking in, it feels like one artist working, but multiple family entities collecting checks at the same time. And it doesn't stop there. The advance money, that has to be recouped from Finesse's 35% before he sees any extra profit. So if the advance was $200,000, he doesn't just need to make $200,000 back. Because he only receives 35% of the revenue, the total earnings would have to reach around $571,000 before that advance is fully paid off. Meanwhile, the other 65% continues flowing to the companies the entire time. That's where the pressure builds up fast. Looking into the company registrations, both Mob Ties and James Prince Entertainment are based in Texas. Mob Ties is linked to J. Prince Jr., and James Prince Entertainment is associated with J. Prince Sr., so the structure appears to involve the son signing the artist, while the father's company also receives a percentage of the same deal. That's a layered setup, and it definitely raises questions about how the business is arranged. Imagine signing to a label and then being told another connected company also gets a large share of your earnings. In most standard deals, artists expect one label partner, not multiple related entities drawing from the same revenue stream. But the Prince family has been operating in the industry for decades, building a reputation for tight business control and keeping deals within the circle. J. Prince Sr. has been active since the era of Rap-A-Lot Records in the late 80s. He has seen every kind of contract structure possible. So when Mob Ties launched under his son, it would not be surprising that the overall business framework was designed to benefit the broader family network as well. That's strategic business from their side. But here's the real tension point. When an artist signs to a label, they expect their representative to prioritize their growth. If multiple related companies are benefiting from the same agreement, critics may question how aligned everyone's interests truly are. And this situation reportedly goes beyond just a basic recording agreement. The deeper you look, the more complicated it seems. This right here is what people call a 360 deal. That means the company doesn't just earn from the music. They get a percentage of everything the artist touches: music sales, streaming, merchandise, live shows, endorsement deals, appearance fees, brand partnerships, all of it. The contract reportedly even gives them the right to use his name, image, and likeness for sponsorships and promotions. So it's not just about album money. If the structure is accurate, the same split applies across multiple income streams. That means a large percentage from music, merch, shows, and endorsements all flows through the same setup. Every dollar moves through that system first. That's a serious level of control. Let's break it down in simple numbers. If Finesse performs at a show and earns $10,000, 35% would be $3,500 for him under that split. If he sells $5,000 in merchandise, his portion would be $1,750. If a brand pays $20,000 for an endorsement, his share would land around $7,000. The math stays consistent across the board. That's how powerful a 360 structure can be. Now here's where it gets even more intense. The merchandising clause reportedly allows the companies to use his name and likeness for products tied to the agreement. That means branded shirts, merchandise drops, promotional items, all handled under the same revenue formula. For example, if a shirt sells for $30, 35% would be $10.50 going to him, while the remaining amount is split between the connected companies. When you see the breakdown like that, you understand why critics call these deals heavy, and it doesn't stop at money splits. The contract is said to lock in 5 albums. 5 projects is a long commitment in today's music industry. Many newer artists aim for shorter terms, maybe 1 or 2 albums at first. But with 5 albums, that's years of obligation. If an artist blows up after album 2, they're still tied in for the remaining projects unless something changes legally. That's how long-term deals can keep an artist committed deep into their rise. Now about those royalties. The reported rate starts at 14% for album 1, then increases slightly. 14.5% for album 2, gradually climbing to 16% by albums 4 and 5. But here's the key detail. That percentage applies to the artist's share portion, not the total revenue pool. So the increase sounds big at first, but once you run the numbers, the bump is much smaller than it appears. And here's another concern people are raising. Even with a 5-album commitment, there's reportedly no strict guarantee outlining how heavily each project must be promoted or supported. That means the timeline and push behind each release could vary. When you combine long-term control with layered revenue splits, you can see why this contract has sparked so much debate. One of the biggest fears with a deal structured like this is simple. A label could choose not to actively push the music, still collect their percentage from other revenue streams tied to the contract, and keep the artist committed until the term runs out. That kind of setup has happened in the industry before. When a company continues earning whether they promote heavily or not, the motivation to release someone early can shrink fast. That's a tough position for any artist to be in. Now let's talk about Finesse2Tymes as a person, because this part adds real weight to the situation. He's from Memphis, Tennessee. He's been grinding for years, both in life and in music. At 33 years old, he's not a brand new teenager in the game. In rap culture, that age can feel like the clock is ticking. Every year matters, every release matters, every missed opportunity hits harder. He has openly spoken about past struggles and time in the system. Music was supposed to be the fresh start. When Mob Ties stepped in, it likely felt like a major break. A respected name, strong industry ties, a chance to level up with serious backing. On paper, that kind of opportunity can look like the moment everything changes. But fast forward 4 years, and only 2 projects have reportedly been released under the deal. 4 years is prime time in an artist's career. That's momentum, that's visibility, that's growth. Time is the one thing you can't buy back. During that period, he has suggested he was covering costs for things like videos and promotion himself, almost moving like an independent artist while still contractually tied to a label structure. He even mentioned being around $10,000 to $15,000 in the negative for expenses he believed the label would handle. That's frustrating for any artist. You sign with a company expecting business support, marketing muscle, and financial backing. If you still end up paying out of pocket while a large percentage of earnings is split through the agreement, that can feel overwhelming. And then came the emotional moment that really shook people. Finesse went live on Instagram and spoke directly from the heart. He said, "Junior, let me go. We already made all the money we can make together. I don't want to go to no other label with you. I love you, but I no longer want to be mob ties business-wise, bro." Hearing those words hit different. You could hear the strain in his voice. This wasn't hype. This was frustration mixed with disappointment. At 33, after grinding for years and watching other artists around his age take off financially, feeling stuck can weigh heavy. When an artist publicly asks to be released from a deal, that shows how serious the tension has become. And once it reaches that point, the situation isn't just business anymore, it's personal. The hardest moment in all of this came when Finesse started talking about his family. He said, "I got kids to feed, I got bills to pay, and I'm out here looking crazy because I can't provide the way I should be able to." That didn't sound like hype. That sounded real. You could hear the weight in his voice when he said, "P, let me go make my money. It's over with. We done this." That wasn't anger. That was exhaustion. That was a man feeling cornered. When an artist reaches the point of pleading in public, it shows how deep the pressure runs. This isn't just about charts or streams anymore. It's about pride. It's about responsibility. It's about wanting to take care of your household and feeling stuck in a deal you can't escape. That kind of frustration hits heavy. Then he brought up something else that sparked even more debate. He mentioned that J. Prince Sr. is reportedly worth hundreds of millions of dollars, with some estimates around $300 million. From Finesse's point of view, it feels unfair. If a family already built generational wealth, why hold such a large percentage over an artist who says he's struggling to stay afloat? That question is what has people arguing online right now. From a strict business angle, contracts are contracts. If both sides signed, the terms are legally binding. That's how the industry works. But morally, that's where opinions split fast. Supporters of Finesse feel like the balance of power is too heavy on one side. Supporters of the label might argue that structure and ownership are part of smart long-term strategy. Two completely different lenses looking at the same paperwork. J. Prince Sr. built his legacy over decades. He's been involved in music since the late 80s, worked with major artists, and created a brand known for strong business positioning. Families that build empires usually protect them. They structure deals to secure their interests first. That's business discipline. But when an artist publicly expresses financial stress, it shifts the conversation from strategy to sympathy. Now here's where things turn risky. Going public against a powerful name in the industry is never a light move. The Prince family carries influence, relationships, and long-standing connections across music. When someone challenges that structure openly, it can create tension beyond just one contract. In this industry, relationships matter, phone calls matter, reputation matters. At the same time, Finesse appears to feel like speaking out was his only option. When someone feels boxed in, silence stops being an option. And once everything is out in the open, there's no easy way to rewind it. This situation isn't just about percentages anymore. It's about power, pride, and who controls the next move. Finesse even said he's willing to meet up anywhere by himself just to try and settle this face-to-face. That takes guts. But it also shows how badly he wants out of this situation. When someone is ready to step into a tense conversation solo, you can tell the pressure is real. He also said, "I don't have a daddy that's worth $300 million, so I know it's easy for you not to care." That line cut deep. It shows he clearly sees the power gap between them. This isn't just about one artist either. This type of situation has played out across the music industry for years. New artists get that big call from a label, they feel like they finally made it, and they sign fast. The excitement is high, the paperwork is long, and the fine print doesn't always get the attention it deserves. Later on, when success hits, that same contract can start to feel like a cage. We've seen public disputes before. Megan Thee Stallion had a very public disagreement with 1501 Entertainment over her contract terms. She gained major success and wanted changes, which led to a long legal fight. It became a battle over control, releases, and contract structure. Situations like that show how complicated these agreements can become once an artist blows up. Then there's Lil Wayne and Cash Money. Wayne was at the top of the charts, but he faced delays and disputes tied to his contract before he was able to move freely. That situation stretched out publicly for years before it was resolved. When deals are signed early in an artist's career, they can follow them long after the fame arrives. The common thread in all of this? Contracts are powerful. Once ink hits paper, it's not easy to undo. That's why these stories hit so hard. When artists speak out, it usually means they feel like every other door has been closed. And when pride, money, and career momentum are all on the line, things can escalate fast.
Rapper Lil Wayne has pleaded guilty to a federal weapons charge. He faces up to 10 years in prison.
The wild part? Deals like this are not rare. They're actually more common than people realize. A lot of big-name artists probably signed contracts that look similar when they were just starting out. The only difference is some of them blew up so big that they were able to renegotiate. while others stayed quiet and handled it behind closed doors. Not every battle makes it to social media. Now let's step into the legal side, because this is where it gets complicated fast. Once you sign a contract, you're legally obligated to honor it. That means Finesse can't simply walk away, even if he feels the deal isn't fair. There are usually clauses explaining what happens if an artist tries to leave early. We're talking possible financial penalties, legal action, and serious court battles. Labels have experienced attorneys whose job is to protect those agreements and make sure the paperwork holds up. But here's the bigger conversation. Just because something is legal doesn't automatically make it feel right. Contracts in the music business are often filled with complex language that's hard to understand without strong legal guidance. An artist may feel excited, grateful, and ready to sign, but without the right team breaking it down line by line, the long-term impact can be missed. What looks like a standard record deal can turn out to be a full career commitment with heavy percentages attached. From Finesse's perspective, he may have believed he was stepping into a normal partnership. He might not have realized how much control and revenue would be tied into that agreement over 5 albums. That's a long stretch in an industry that moves at lightning speed. What adds to the frustration is watching peers succeed at the same time. Memphis has produced major names in recent years. Artists from the same region are buying homes, investing, and leveling up. Moneybagg Yo, also from Memphis, has seen huge financial success. When you're grinding in the same city, coming up in the same culture, and you see others breaking through while you feel stuck, that can mess with your head. Finesse has said he believes he could potentially earn $10 to $20 million if he were free to negotiate elsewhere. Whether that number is exact or not, the point is clear. He feels like bigger opportunities are within reach, but legally out of bounds. Imagine feeling that close to life-changing wealth, yet being contractually blocked from pursuing it. That kind of pressure builds up over time. He's likely watching other artists secure million-dollar advances and new partnerships while he's still dealing with recoupment and percentages. For someone confident in their talent and fan base, that gap can feel painful. It's not just about money, it's about momentum, timing, and control over your own path. And that brings us to recoupment, because this is where many artists get tripped up without fully realizing it. Here's where the numbers really start to feel heavy. Even though Finesse reportedly receives 35% of the revenue, he still has to recoup any advance or label expenses out of that 35% before seeing additional royalty income. So let's say the advance was $200,000. That full $200,000 has to be paid back from his portion of earnings first. Until that balance is cleared, there's no extra royalty check coming his way. Meanwhile, the companies connected to the deal continue collecting their combined 65% as revenue comes in. That's why critics compare it to being in debt while the system around you keeps earning steadily. The structure means the artist carries the burden of recoupment directly from their slice. Now here's another layer. In most record agreements, the label determines which expenses are recoupable. Studio sessions, marketing campaigns, promotional runs, video production, travel costs, those amounts can be categorized as expenses tied to the artist. And those costs typically get deducted from the artist's share first. That changes the math fast. For example, if the music generates $1 million in revenue, Finesse's 35% would equal $350,000. But if the label states that $300,000 went toward recoupable expenses, that amount is applied against his share. Because he only receives 35% of total revenue, he would need roughly $857,000 in gross revenue just to cover $300,000 worth of expenses from his portion. When you break it down like that, the numbers start to look overwhelming. Now shift this into the streaming era. Streaming platforms pay significantly less per play compared to old-school physical album sales. Artists today need massive numbers just to see meaningful income. If 1 million streams generate around $3,000 to $4,000 in revenue, 35% of that equals roughly $1,050 to $1,400. After taxes and any additional deductions, that amount shrinks even more. It's not the kind of money most people imagine when they hear 1 million streams. An independent artist keeping the majority of that $3,000 to $4,000 would see a much bigger direct return. Under this structure, Finesse would need close to triple the streaming volume just to match what an independent act might earn from the same platform. That's a steep climb in a competitive space, and streaming success depends heavily on consistency. Regular releases, strong promotion, playlist placement, and marketing momentum all matter. If releases are delayed or promotion is limited, it becomes harder to build the steady numbers needed to offset recoupment. In today's algorithm-driven world, timing is everything. Add social media into the mix and the pressure multiplies. Artists showcase wins in real time. New cars, new houses, sold out shows. When you're scrolling and seeing peers level up while you're still fighting contract math, that comparison can weigh on you mentally. What stands out most is the emotional shift. Finesse once sounded energized about his career. Now he's publicly asking to be released from his agreement. That transformation speaks volumes. At 33, in a genre where youth often dominates headlines, feeling like time is slipping away can amplify every frustration. When business stress collides with personal pressure, it hits hard. Age matters in this game. Every year stuck in a deal that's not working is a year you can't get back. In hip-hop, timing is everything. Trends shift fast, fans move on quick, and momentum can disappear overnight. When you hear the desperation in Finesse's voice asking to be released, it hits hard. You can hear the frustration when he talks about being independent, but not truly independent. He's funding his own videos, pushing his own music, building his own fan base from the ground up. Yet a large percentage of the revenue still flows through the contract structure. That kind of imbalance can mess with your mindset. Imagine grinding harder than ever, but watching your actual take-home shrink compared to what it might look like independently. That creates mental pressure. You feel like you're carrying the weight, but not seeing the full reward. That tension builds over time. The Prince family is known for having long-standing industry relationships, radio contacts, playlist connections, booking networks, and business ties. In any situation where there's a dispute, those relationships become part of the bigger picture. Influence matters in entertainment. Networks matter. That's just reality. But when someone feels backed into a corner, sometimes the only thing left is their voice. For Finesse, speaking publicly became his move. His platform, his story, his supporters, that's leverage in a different way. In today's world, public opinion can shift narratives fast, and this situation feels bigger than one contract. It opens up a larger conversation about how artists navigate the business side of music. Many creatives come from environments where access to experienced legal teams isn't easy. When opportunity knocks, it's tempting to sign quickly. The dream feels urgent, but the paperwork can follow you for years. How many other artists are in similar contracts but staying silent? How many deals out there look shiny on the surface but feel heavy behind closed doors? These questions make people examine the system itself. Is it structured to build artists up long-term or primarily to protect corporate interests? That debate has been around for decades. At the same time, we've seen independent artists thrive in the digital era. With streaming platforms, social media, and direct-to-fan marketing, there are more options than ever before. That's why education is critical. Artists need strong legal advice, financial guidance, and clear understanding before signing anything. A record deal can be a launch pad, but it can also become a limitation if the terms aren't aligned. What happens next in this situation could ripple outward. If renegotiation happens or an agreement is reworked, it may inspire other artists to re-examine their contracts. If it ends in a strict enforcement of the terms, it could send a different message entirely. Either way, the spotlight is on the business side of music right now. One thing is clear, this isn't just about percentages. It's about power, timing, and control over your own career path. And in an industry that moves this fast, every decision counts. The whole industry is watching to see how this plays out. No matter what happens next, Finesse already did something major. He pulled the curtain back and forced people to look at how these contracts really operate. Deals like this can lock artists in for years, and most fans never even realize it. That's the bigger picture behind how J. Prince Jr. allegedly finessed Finesse2Tymes out of serious money. When you line up the details, it's wild. A split where a large percentage flows to companies tied to one family. A 5-album commitment that could stretch across the prime of his career. A 360 structure that reportedly touches music, shows, merch, endorsements, everything. That kind of setup keeps the artist grinding while the machine around him stays paid. That's why so many people are reacting strong to this story. Whether you agree with the business side or feel for the artist, one thing is clear. Contracts shape careers. One signature can change your whole future. And situations like this remind every upcoming artist to slow down, get solid legal advice, and read every single line before signing anything. If you want more breakdowns on the business side of hip-hop, more real talk about contracts, and more stories that expose how the industry really moves, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment with your thoughts, and share this with somebody who needs to see it. We're going to keep these conversations going because the music game is deeper than it looks, and knowledge is power.